Hey everybody, it is Nathan Selove with another episode of Amusing Autism. So I haven't done one of these in a while, so for those of you that didn't see the other ones that I made, this series is where I tell silly stories about being autistic. So today I want to talk about becoming an uncle. So I have 5 nieces. They're the children of my sister-in-law, and they're absolutely wonderful, adorable, and great to be around. And apparently they think I'm fun too. I've been able to keep them fooled for a while. So early in my relationship with Jess, I went to this little housewarming party at her sister's. So I'm sitting on the couch with Jess, and Jess is holding our second oldest niece. And Jess's sister calls from the other room and says, "Hey Jess, come help me with something." And so then Jess turns to me and shoves the niece over to me and says, "Hey, could you hold her?" And here's the thing. I was 19 at the time, and it had been a very long time since I had spent any time with kids. 7 years to be precise, because that's when I was a kid. So I didn't know anything about how to hold a baby, how to talk to a baby, how to interact with a kid. It's not that I didn't like kids, I loved kids. They just scared the hell out of me. So when Jess hands me this baby, I was just like, I don't know what to do. What do you do with this thing? So Jess had to explain to me how to hold a baby because I had never held a baby before. Yeah, apparently you have to support their necks because they lack the strength to be able to keep their head up properly. So I'm kind of just sitting there holding this baby like, hey, look at you. God, human babies are useless. So for the first 5 minutes, I'm like keeping my head as far away from her as possible because I guess I was afraid she was gonna give me the plague or something. And if all of that wasn't enough, there is one major problem with babies. They're adorable. So after like 5 minutes had passed, I started looking at her and I was like, "Oh, ain't you cute? She's got tiny little fingers and, tiny little feet and, a nose that is tiny." Being autistic, I don't always know how to react emotionally in some situations. And I personally am really bad at knowing my own emotions. So after a few minutes of holding the kid, I was just like, damn it, I love this kid now. Now I have to spend more time with the thing. So I just sit there holding it like, oh, he's a baby. And Jess finally comes in and says, all right, I can take her back. And I'm just like, no, he's my baby. Now in some ways, babies are easy enough, because you don't really have to talk with them. You can just sit there and hold them and, change their diaper and do whatever. It's when they get a little bit older than that where you have to start talking to them and playing with them. And that's around the age that my oldest niece was at the time. So I had no idea how to talk to children. Like one of the nieces might make a Valentine's Day heart for me, and I'd just be like, oh, that's really nice. Although, did you know that that's not a biologically accurate representation of a human heart? And Jess would be like, Nathan, she's 2! So I had to figure out how to talk to children. And the method that I used was pretty interesting. So for those of you who are a regular viewer of the channel, you probably know that I have a service dog. Now, I try to be very careful how I speak to my service dog because it's important to strengthen the bond through positive reinforcement rather than negative association. So that means it's very rare that I'll say things like, nope, no. Instead, most of the time when I talk to her, it sounds something like, hey, come over here. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, is that fun? Is that cool? Is that fun? Oh, come here. And I usually get on her level when I'm doing this, so a lot of you can probably see where this is going. I realized that if I just talked to my nieces the way that I talked to my dogs, that I would seem like I was a lot more fun. Now, that probably annoyed my sister-in-law a bit, but it worked. So whenever I come over to visit, the nieces come running to me and I just am like, oh, hey, how you doing? I missed you. Come here. Hey, what are you doing? And they think I'm lovely. Now, to be clear, it's not like I'm offering them treats or saying good girl every few seconds. However, a lot of young children have roughly the same amount of energy as a young dog. So I figured if I can keep up with a young dog, I can keep up with a young niece. So anyways, I've gotten to the point where interacting with kids has become a lot more natural to me. I mean, I still sometimes break out into college level lectures with, tiny children about random subjects related to communication. Like one time I actually laid out the action, interactive, and transactional model of communication to my oldest niece who was 6 at the time. But for the most part, there's a lot of good cohesion. And I can't wait to see who they become when they grow up. Well, that's today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like, a share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, check out some of my other stuff, and I'm on Twitter, so you can follow me, @NathanSelove. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, support me on Patreon. And you will see me in the next one.